Okay, TK 1636.
TK 35953.
So he's already got armor done, but he was waiting for his AP kit to come in. Finally got his AP kit, so we might make this one a white one and the AP kit maybe a sandy. We'll see. But anyways, here's the unboxing of the new AP kit. So he did kind of cut it open a little bit, but he didn't actually take any of the stuff out. So it is unboxed or already open, but we're going to go ahead and unbox it. Let's see what we have here. So there's definitely a lot of packing. Here's the ammo knee. Here's the straight belt. Here's the shoulder straps. It says leave 8 clip all the way around. You know what it says?
Yes.
Here's the back. So he's got we're going to put the bracket system in. So there is a line right here. We're probably going to go a little bit bigger than the line and then trim once we get the brackets in. So there's the back. Here's the ears. The hand plate. Oh, these are nice. We got the hand plates, the
Thermal dent.
the thermal deck control, and then the end caps. And then we have the biceps. Oh, so looking at them, looks like they're both the same side. They both got the thumbprint. So we got a ridge on both sides too, still. So unlike the Novos and the RS, they both have only ridge on one side. This one still has it on both sides. We have the little buttons, and then the ones for the belt. We have the drop boxes. We have the inner and outer drop boxes. And then on this one, instead of them having like another plate where it molds it and you cut around there, they show you to leave enough where you cut your own little ridge. So either way, it doesn't matter. This way you just make sure you don't cut here, you cut farther out. But they have it written down, actually, leave 1/8 lip all the way around. So most people, when you get them, most of their molds have like an outer lip and you cut around that. This one doesn't. So just be careful when you do cut it out that you leave some on the outside all the way around. Okay. Now this looks like part of the helmet. And there's the face. Pretty much it's already trimmed out pretty good. All you gotta do is just clean it up just a little bit. I can still see a little bit of the line, but and then just a little bit of an edge right here. Just very little cleanup on that one. We have shoulder bells. So on the RS, they both look like do they look like they curve to the right? Looks like they're curving this way.
Okay.
So on the RS and the Novos, one is straight and one curves. So these two look like they're both curving the same way. Okay, we got a sniper. So with this kit, unless I find another sniper plate, it looks like all they have is just for the New Hope, or just a regular white, and you can't make it into a sand trooper unless you buy the extra parts. But everything for a clean white one is here. Looks like got the aerators, and they already got the screens in them. Looks like they're already painted, and they already got the nuts and the washers in the back. And then looks like we have a couple snaps, some rivets for the split rivets, and then also more bolts. These are probably for the ears. So I was letting you know before not to get them, they'll probably be in it. So one says helmet and the other says armor. And then we have the lens and the decals. So if you're going to New Hope, to go level 2 and 3, you have to paint it on. but if you go on ESV, if you're going up the levels, then you would use decals, and then you turn the Jedi, they're all decals. So when I first bought my AP kit back in maybe 08, 09, I basically got the same thing. These are nice, but we're going to paint it on, so we're not going to use these. And then the lens, it's screen accurate, but what I noticed when I put it on is they can easily bend and put creases in. And then when you put them over the eyes, so you just take the little sticker off, it sticks on, that sometimes you can push them in where the eye holes are at. And then if somebody takes a picture of you, they're going to see through it. The flashes, they're going to be able to see your eyes. So it's really light green, and the lenses we normally use are a dark green. So we're going to get the other lenses. We're not going to use this. So we won't use the decals or the lens kit. But this is definitely more screen accurate. Same thing with these. If I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong, but you can put stickers on, but I think it says that if you do the stickers for right here, they have to look like they're hand painted. So if all the stickers are perfect, then you might not get a tier 3. But we're going to paint it all on, so we're not going to use the stickers either. And then here's the brow, or the frown trim. So this is similar to what I do. I trim mine just a little bit shorter, but this is a good starting point. And then the back, we have the back too. So this one, it's got a line here, and we just have to trim to the line. The bottom looks done really well, and then up top, there's a little bit of a lip here. It depends. We'll probably just leave it because the brow trim will go on that. So, but it comes right up to where the traps are up here, so that's decent. We'll probably just cut it here, and then cut it here, and then when we put them together, it does have 3 little holes, and same thing with here on the face. It has 3 holes. I never use those, and then also has a hole here for when you put the ear on, so you can screw it in down here, and then the 3. I never really use those holes. I'll just put the helmet on, and then let me see if I can grab this. Okay. Hold that. So when I normally put it on, I'll put one hole in here, and then I'll put this up to where I want it, and then I'll put the other hole into this one, and then I'll screw it in. And then once I put the ears on, I line the ears up to right in here where it curves, so that way I have the least amount of gap. So you could follow the lines, but I normally don't. But we'll see, once we start building it, we'll see how well the lines, the holes end up lining up. But it looks good. One thing, this might be a little bit different than when I got the AP years ago, is this doesn't seem as pronounced. The AP I have, it's really pronounced right here. It still has it, but it doesn't seem like it's as pronounced. But it looks really good. It's very clean looking, very shiny. So it all depends on what you want. Again, RS, very bumpy. ATA, very bumpy. So it just depends on what you like. If you like the nice, clean, smooth look, this is definitely really nice. Here, we'll put this in. Okay, and so now we have the chest. So this one might give us a little bit of problems with the brackets. It's a little bit small, but we'll see what we can work out here. Maybe I'll cut it to where this bottom line is, and then fold it down, just heat it up and fold it down just a little bit. And then whatever's excess, I'll just trim that out. So you'll still see a line, but it'll give you more meat. So that's the only problem with this one, is just down here. And then it's a little soft where it's showing where to cut it. But I've cut so many that it doesn't necessarily matter. And same thing with the RS and the Novos. It has a ridge that goes in. So this one, I'm not really seeing a lot of that. But that's fine. It's not something that's going to break you. And And then on this one, I've noticed that they got, I can't remember on mine, it's been a while if it has a circle, but I'm pretty sure on my old one it didn't have this little notch. So now they got the little notch in the circle. Up here, hold it back, there's a lot of space here, so we can easily put brackets back here. And then right here, again, I'm not seeing, there's a little bit of return edge here, and there's definitely, you can tell where to cut it right here. Right here, there's no return edge. But if we want to, because the old one was very thin, or not thin, I should say, short. So I could barely fit into it back in 8-9 years ago. So I tried on, one guy brought his down and I tried it on, and there was probably a good 4 or 5 inches of gap. So they've added quite a bit extra on here just in case. So they have a line here, or a pencil mark, where it says movie size, trim here, and if you're bigger than that, you can keep going down. And then this looks like it has some kind of protective covering right here. So when they wrote on it, they didn't write on the actual armor, they wrote on this, maybe it's tape or something. So that way you can peel that off if you don't end up cutting this all off. And it's doesn't have the tape here, but it's got a pencil line here. And then I think the cod piece is still the same, so it still comes like a little oval, so it's a little bit different. The Novos and the RS is a little bit flatter here, but not a deal breaker. And then now, the cool thing, did we get the, oh, here. So, this is the one thing that I did notice. So when I got mine many years ago, hold the top, the kidney, this piece was these two pieces were one piece. And it had a line, and it was your option if you wanted to cut it and make it into two. But the problem with cutting it and making it into two is you didn't have this little lip right here, and you didn't have it here. Which again, that's not a deal breaker. You can just glue some elastic from here to here all the way around, and then it'll be 2 separate pieces, and you can have your belt coming around, and you can make that tier 2 and tier 3. So this one they've learned, so now it's 2 pieces. But again, the other way wasn't that much harder to make the armor into tier 2 or tier 3, but this way it's more screen accurate, more for A New Hope instead of Return of the Jedi. And again, you got just a little bit of return edge, not a lot like a Novos and a RS, but it's good. It's a decent amount. You don't really need more than this. I ended up cutting quite a bit out of my Novos anyways. And then one thing that they added is they actually added the little notch on both sides, and then they also added more on the sides here. So granted, back then in the 70s, all the actors were around 5'10", 5'9", 10, 11. They're about 165, maybe 175's pushing it, probably 165, 170. So, and then me back then when I got my armor, I was maybe 170. So I was pushing. I didn't need anything added to it. But then once I started getting older, I actually had to put shims in it. So now it gives you that option where it's a pencil mark, and you can make it, and this is a pretty big notch here. So if you do the screen accurate, it's a tiny notch, but if you go all the way down here, this notch is huge. So it's not quite to tier 2 or tier 3, the millimeters of the notch going, well, maybe going up, but this way it's definitely not. But I highly doubt they'll say, okay, your notch is too long, you can't be tier 3. But that's just something to think about if you're actually using all of them. Let me see that. Yeah. So if you're using all of this, you're going to have a notch that looks like that. So, but your belt is going to be coming right about here anyways. So you're not going to really see the notch. But that's just something to think about. The more the notch you have, the more plastic you have here, the bigger your notch is going to be. So if I was you and you only needed a little bit, I would leave it here and then trim this as far down as you could so your notch is a lot smaller. This guy right here, what you say your waist was?
The 31.
31. So, I'm probably gonna, we might even trim it a little bit more. We'll probably go to whatever the millimeter is supposed to be on here. So if it's 15 or 18 or whatever it is, I gotta look, I can't remember offhand. We're gonna cut that here, and then this one, once we cut it, we're just gonna size it up to them and cut as close as we can to this, this line. So like I said before it was very small armor, you had to be super skinny to fit into it. So we're gonna see how much we end up having to cut off and make it fit him at a 31 waist. And I'm betting that we'll probably cut to this line and to this line, and it'll probably fit you perfectly. So there's those. Okay, so here, good. So this one has, this is a thigh, has the ridge up front, and it's flat in the back. So this is perfect. We're going to go from the edge of the ridge in. Since it's a thigh, it's 10. So he's skinny enough, so we're not even going to measure. We're not going to cut to this line. We're just going to go straight from here in 10. All 4 of the thighs. And then in the back, we're just going to barely trim off this excess right here. There's actually a line there. So we might actually just cut to the line, and then we'll put them both together, and then we're going to trim it until it fits him. Not tight, but not loose, so it'll fit him comfortably, and we're probably going to end up cutting quite a bit in. So this is really good with just having the ridges in the front. This one has quite a bit of extra too. So if it still doesn't fit you, you can put your, you can keep this, just get rid of this little bit of an edge here, and when you put your outer shim in there, you could probably line it up to where it hides this line. Okay, or you can put those, or you can put them in here. And then here's the shims. So if memory serves me right, with these AP shims, the old ones, when you put them on, one leg would always turn on you. It always turns. So hopefully they fix that. But just looking real quick, it's got the ridge in the front and has no ridge in the back. So again, we can do that 10 in the front, and then cut it probably to the line and put them together. I'm going to look real quick and see if I can figure out which is which. Hold that right there. And then if memory serves me right
here, left and then right.
Oh, it does. Oh. All right, let me see. You got left?
Yeah.
Hold the left. All right. So this is the right side. So looking at this, this is actually very good. Looking at this compared to doing the Novos. So this is the right side. Good. So here you can see where it dips in right here. So that's the inner right. Here it dips in a little bit, but it's mostly a gradual flat. And then I'm also looking, it almost looks like this edge is just a little bit longer than this edge. So that's really good. So this is good. This is perfect lineup, easy lineup for right leg. And then your left, it should be the opposite of the right. So hold up this side right here. So if you look at here, it goes in right here, and then this one's a gradual one. And then also, it looks like it's just a little bit longer here than here. So it kind of goes on the side of your ankle. This looks very easy. You can't not confuse it. So it looks like they changed the shins. So hopefully once we put it together, it won't get that dreaded curve on you. And what a lot of people end up doing anyways is they put Velcro here and they put Velcro on their boot, and it helps keep it from moving. But it looks like they got rid of that, so hopefully this shouldn't, without any Velcro, should not turn on me. And this one, oh, this one's got a lot on there. So we're going to cut a bunch of this off. And then here it's got a line again. So they all have lines in the back, and they all have grooves in the front. Oh, one thing, oh yeah, let me see if they have that. So this is, should be that one. I'm going to see if they have the knot. right side, this should be the left. So, flip it around, hold that one, that one. So when you put them both together, memory serves me right, the left side should have more of a notch, and the right side should be more roundish. And also, in the Anovos one, it has that little notch up front. So this one doesn't have the notch like the Anovos and the RS does. And then yeah, this one is a little bit more pointed. So a lot of times, if you build the front to the specs, it's supposed to be 10, and you build it 10, you lose. You make it a lot, it ends up being more pointier. When you have it thicker, it ends up being more rounder. Once you trim off a bunch of it, it ends up being a lot more pointier up here. So this one is supposed to be rounder. This side has a notch. But again, it's not a deal breaker because your Dropbox is going to be hiding it anyways. So that's fine. Alright, so we have shims here. So it looks like we have plenty of shims for inner and outer. So if you want to do inner and outer, it's not like the Novos where they're already cut to the specific 10s and 15s, or I'm sorry, 20s and 15s, and 25s, but that's fine. We could easily do that. But we definitely have plenty to do in and outer. So let me measure this real quick. So if we're doing it correctly, it should be at least 7. Yep, this is 7. So once we put the end caps on, it's supposed to be no bigger than 7.5. So anywhere between 7.25 to 7.5. So it's 7 now. We put the end caps on. We can make it somewhere in between 7.5 or 7.25 to 7.5, and then we just got to paint it gray. So those are those, and then here, outer and outer. These two look very similar. It almost looks like they're. That one. These look pretty much like they're the same on each side. So, with that being said, that means that it has, just like the biceps, it has a ridge on both sides. It's technically, if you're doing it right, only the front is supposed to have a ridge. Well, not necessarily doing it right, but if you have a screen accurate armor, only the front has the ridge and the back is smooth. So this one, since they're both the same exact thing, these will be the outside ones. You're just gonna have to decide which one you want right, which one you want left. So, not a deal breaker, but it's just something to note that they're both pretty much carbon copies of each other. So that means one side's gonna have a really nice edge, and the other side's gonna be just a little bit smoother. So these definitely look like they'll be small enough for him. We can trim it down to fit him easily. The only thing that sucks is there's from the edge here all the way to here. There's probably like 50, maybe more. Let me see. That's 45. So it's 45 millimeters. So we only are supposed to have 7.5. So it's about 35 too long. So with somebody else that has bigger arms, your ridge, you're gonna have the ridge is gonna be pretty far out. So let's say you keep it here. Well, what I would do is I would cut them down probably to 20 or 25, depending on how big you were. So both of them, that'd be 50, and I put them together, and then I would shrink it down to where it fits you. But the front would be 7.5, the other one would be 7.5, and it would be 15, So I try to make the ridge in the front as small as possible. The ridge in the back, it could be as wide as possible to fit you. So once your little strip goes in, you know, you're going to have quite a bit of a ridge. But for him, he's so small that we're going to probably be really close to the ridge. And this looks very similar to the one when I had it. It doesn't look like they changed these much, if at all. Because I do remember these being very small right here. But for you, you should easily be able to fit into it. Me, I might have a little bit of a problem. I might have to go a little bit wider. So that's it right there. It shouldn't be too easy. It should be relatively easy to put together. But just a few little differences, but nothing that can't be beat. But looking at it, I mean, you can see the ridges pretty good. So I remember having the FX armor, my first armor, back when I joined in 07. It was huge on me. And then my buddy had a AP, so I bought the AP, and just the chest side by side, it was a eye opener, real big difference. But for him, it's gonna fit perfect. It still seems, I don't have my Novos is in a box. I might just cut this out and then put it on top of my Novos and see how much smaller, because it does seem a little bit smaller than the Novos. It still seems like it's a little bit smaller this way. So we'll see how much smaller it is. But I mean, for him it's perfect. For me, I would probably, well, I already did. I got the Novos. So I would stick to something that's a little bit bigger than these, but it's still good armor. Same thing with this one. We're gonna have to trim 7.5 off. Hopefully it'll fit you. I don't think it'll be too big on you. And usually that one armor that we always build, that armor, one is really sunken in, and then this is a bigger one. This is a bigger side. And then, if I remember correctly, it had that funny little notch in it. And, I'll show you this armor, not this one. Once I got some new armor, let's hold that right there. I noticed it. I was like, okay, it goes in here, and then it curves up, and then it goes up again. This one just goes straight. So this is very similar. I doubt very little change has been done to this one, because I do remember it being straight here. And I always looked at other armor after, because I didn't know when I built it for the first one. I actually ended up getting 2 sets of AP. Built one for me, sold it to my buddy. He bought another one, and I built the second one for me. And that's when I went EIB with that one in Centurion. And I noticed this over the years. When the other armor started coming out, I noticed that. I'm like, why is it like this? And I can see the difference here. Same thing with here, how they have it's got like a little line here. And I always wondered, like, am I supposed to keep this? This is when I first started. So I'm like, am I supposed to keep it here? Am I supposed to cut to the line? So just little stuff like that. Other than that, though, I mean, it's still really good armor. I mean, little stuff like this isn't going to be a deal breaker. Alright. Just sucks though that they're both the same side. Because other armors, there's a distinct difference between the right and left. Alright, TK1636. We'll show more video. Once we won't actually do a video of us building it, because I have a ton of those, doing the RS and Novos, ATA. So we'll start putting some stuff together, and then we'll pull out the Novos that's complete, and whatever we complete on this armor, and we'll put them together and see how much different they look, if much at all. I mean, I don't see it being that much smaller, but this armor definitely back in the day was a lot smaller than the screen accurate ones, and we'll see how much smaller, if any. And like I said, when I demonstrated with what they did with the kidney and the ab plate, they've definitely made that one bigger, and then they split the kidney and the butt plate. They've split those two like they're supposed to. So we'll see after I start building it. Probably take us 30-40 hours. Just depends on when you can come over. Luckily he lives in town with me, so he can come over whenever he's got the time and I have the time, and we could probably have this finished within maybe a couple weeks. We can have it finished.
Definitely.
And you can have 2 sets of armor. All right, thank you.
Toodles.